All right, Amy, want to get you your next update video on Benelli, show you how we're doing, talk about how this wild child is doing with her training, and show you what's been going on. And this poor southern Kansas boy is complaining about the northern weather. Um, we definitely have had a cold stretch of weather, which really is not that unusual for us. In Kansas, we do get pretty cold every year. Um, but we had a pretty good amount of snow. We got most of about a foot of snow between a couple of different storms, and everything's been froze up. But it's actually already mostly thawed out. So I imagine by probably another day or two, probably by the time I get this uploaded and sent to you, pretty much all the snow is going to be gone, and even the ponds will be thawed out. I think it's supposed to be in the 60s this week. So that's the thing about Kansas weather. Whatever it is, it never lasts. Hot, cold, wet, dry, it never stays. But anyway, the weather has kept everybody inside. We've been pretty cooped up the last 10, 12 days, 2 weeks. So we play it pretty careful with the dogs. Everybody has been indoors inside of an insulated building. So there's been, no exposure concerns. Nobody sleeps outside. Obviously, they get plenty of time to be outside during the day when we can. But if it's, a particularly cold day, we make sure that everybody stays warm and cozy. Benelli would probably be the dog that was actually most adapted to it, but we just want to make sure, that there's not any chance for any dog to be harmed by the weather. Um, anyway, so what we've been working on is since we've been stuck inside, we've been working indoors on what we call formal obedience. And so formal obedience is kind of the precursor to force fetch. It is the foundation of everything we do. Is teaching the dog to be obedient. And what the best way for me to describe formal obedience is where we are telling the dog what to do. We are not asking the dog what to do. And you say, well, okay, well, what's the difference in that? The difference is when I give a command during formal obedience, I make the dog follow through every single time. And if I cannot make the dog do it, if I am not in a situation where I know I can make her do it, I do not give the command. So the idea is that we want to have 100% response to an obedience command, so we make sure that the dog does what we say when we say to do it. So we condition her to this. Obviously, having the e-collar conditioning that you did ahead of time really has helped. She has responded to the e-collar quite nicely with me. Um, it has been very helpful. And so Benelli is a good example of a dog that, I would say is if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile. You see that in some dogs, and Benelli definitely fits that profile. She will take it as far as she can get away with it. And that's, again, that's not uncommon for a dog her age. And it's certainly not a problem to know that she is a dog who's confident, who's I would describe her as being bold. Right now, she's kind of running around the room, whining a little bit because right after we train is when she gets to eat dinner. So she wants to go eat dinner and wants to get this session over with. So she's probably thinking, hey, quit blabbing and let's get our reps done here. So what have we been working on? All right. So first thing is, formal obedience starts with a simple bit of leash work. I want to show you what I'm using here. I want to explain my leash. What I'm using is called a slip lead. It's just a regular leash with a clasp on the end, but there's a little metal ring that is over the leash itself. So the idea is it clips to itself and it will slip. And the idea is we want the leash to be able to pull tight, but as soon as you're not pulling on it, it comes loose. It's essential that it comes loose as soon as we let up. So the idea is we can tell the dog when we want her to do something by applying a little bit of pressure. Otherwise, it is loose. Heel, sit. Good dog. Good. So it's pretty clear to me that you've done some of this work with her, or at least she acts like it. Sit. And notice I've got pressure on her right now until she sits. Good. And then the pressure comes off. That's how we communicate with the dog. Good. So now we're going to start to walk a little bit at heel. Good girl. Good heel. Good heel. And so when I'm looking at heel, I want her nose in front of me and I want her butt behind me. And I want her about 1 foot from my left leg. And the idea is this leash should stay loose. Notice that there is slack in the leash. And the leash stays loose until I need her to change. Very good. Good girl. I got to tell you, working with Benelli is like a female Tycho. She looks so much like Tycho. It's kind of cool. You don't see girls that look like her a lot, very often. Good. Heel. Sit. Sit. Good. And right there is an example where I gave the command and I made her follow through with it. Right? So we want to make sure that the dog understands you're going to do the command when I tell you to do it. Now, this little beginning part is the start of what we call formal obedience. And what we are doing with this as well is we are introducing the idea of hold conditioning. Now, this is a very foreign concept for most dogs. Most dogs are okay with the idea of walking on a leash. They've probably been on a leash. They may pull. They may be difficult about it or whatever. But they're comfortable with the idea of you controlling them with a leash, usually. What's weird is what I'm about to do, which is the start of hold conditioning. Sit. And which is, instead of controlling her legs, I am going to control her mouth. This is a very foreign concept for dogs. And so I start with just playing with her face, playing with her snout, with her ears, so that she is not kind of weirded out immediately. Kind of get her, give her some love. Good girl, yes. Make sure that she feels comfortable because I'm about to do something weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold her collar with my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm going to stick it right in her mouth, right between her jaws. And it's in here very loose. There's absolutely no pressure, no squeezing, no pinching, none of that. This is just hand in mouth until she quits wiggling. Give! And as soon as she quits wiggling and fighting me, I say the word give, and the hand comes out of her mouth. All right, so that's the beginning of hold conditioning. Sit down. Good girl. Good. And we go very slow with this because, again, it's so foreign and so strange to them. We want them to feel comfortable. We don't want to just, you know, heavy hand this. We don't want the dog to feel, um, you know, defeated. We want them to feel like we're teaching. So I'm just going to go another rep right here. I'm going to slip my hand between her teeth. Girl, good. Give! And right there, she didn't even hardly resist at all. She was like, oh, okay, now I remember. Um, she's had a couple of days of this. Usually the first time, they kind of like fight like a fish out of water for about 30 seconds to 60 seconds. It's really kind of entertaining. Um, but it's amazing because once they get this, they understand, hey, I'm going to control your mouth, right? And so we are teaching her the give command. So we're starting with this with my bare hand because I want her to understand that we're going to be able to put things in your mouth other than my hand. Obviously, I don't want to start with a bird or a bumper because I don't want her to have any animosity towards the object. If she wants to hate something, it can be my bare hand, not a bird. So I'm going to put my hand back in here one more time. Good. Good girl. Give the dog. Again, very little resistance. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on helping her understand that my hand's going to go in her mouth, and we're going to be putting more objects in her mouth, like bumpers, birds, etc., and we're going to control how she holds those objects. That's what force fetch is really about, is the idea of teaching her how we're going to hold an object in her mouth and how to respond to pressure. Right? So far, we're just starting with early conditioning. We're starting with obedience. We're starting with, give plenty of love. Yes, that's a good girl. We want her to be happy. We want her to feel like she can trust me. I certainly do not want to start by just jumping in and doing something that makes the dog uncomfortable. So, Benelli's off to a great start. We're going to make her into a great dog for you.